Good morning. I'm WVEA President Dale Lee, and this morning we are here to talk about the reopening of school, specifically how our members feel and how they believe we need to proceed with educating our students. First, let me say that the situation with the virus continues to be fluid, and no one can predict what will happen a few days from now, let alone a few weeks or months from now. That uncertainty is a large part of the problem. People need to make plans, and it is difficult to do that in such a fluid situation. Just through normal day-to-day conversations, we all know that there's a wide span in the level of comfort, and that the sense of safety that people have in going back to school. And it varies based upon health conditions, family situations, location, and even political leanings. No single decision regarding this fall school term will make everyone happy, but everyone agrees that the health and safety of our students and our educators must be paramount in any decision that is made. We are a member-driven organization. We have waited to make our comments because we wanted to make a statement that truly reflected the thoughts of our members. In order to get a more scientific look into the minds of our members, WVEA conducted a member survey between July 21st and July 30th. This survey was conducted via Qualtrics using the independent polling firm GBAO out of Washington, D.C. GBAO has done a number of state-specific reopening surveys, as well as nationwide polling on the issues. The sampling of WVEA members was extremely high, and the margin of error is low at plus or minus 2.5%. Now, first, I'd like to go over a few of the survey's key findings. Although nearly all members report concerns about learning loss, most want school to wait to reopen, and a plurality prefer maintaining full distance learning this fall. While educators support the Department of Education's reopening toolkit that calls for local county systems to devise their own plan, most feel uncomfortable returning to school under their county's plans. Almost all members believe that returning to school should be predicated on the instituting safety measures like frequent disinfecting, wearing masks, implementing social distancing, temperature checks, and prohibiting visitors. Educators express skepticism that students will be able to effectively maintain social distancing and wear a mask. Our members agree with all the proposed measures regarding school reopening in the fall, but disagree that staffing and resources will be sufficient for school cleaning, food service, and bus run. Now, the next slides will expand upon the key findings, and I ask you to hold your questions until the end. The first slide involves the most important distant learning needs. When we ask if your school needs to do distance learning in the fall, how important would each of the following be for you personally? 99% said the ability to reach students who do not have broadband at home was very important. 97% agree that assistance from others, parents, tutors, mentors, in helping to engage and motivate students to participate in remote instruction. 97% said we need training on how to improve student engagement in times of remote instruction. 96% agree that we need training on specific distance learning tools and technology. 95% said we needed an exchange of ideas and best practices for distance learning with other educators, including taking care of your own kids if you have them. 92% said we need training on meeting students' social, emotional, and trauma needs. And 91% said providing more counselors and social workers to meet students' social, emotional, and trauma needs have to be in place. The next slide deals with who should be required to wear a mask. No, I'm sorry. The next slide is about the importance of educator input in making the process, the toolkit, the Department of Education toolkit. We ask, do you favor or oppose allowing county school districts to devise their own plans as long as the minimum requirements from the Department of Education are met? I made a mistake there, I apologize. The next question was, which of the following statements do you agree with more? The first statement was COVID-19 has been extremely disruptive and West Virginia students are falling behind. It is important to get back to school in the fall so students do not fall further behind. Or schools should only physically reopen after it has been clearly established by public health experts that there is sufficient equipment and planning to protect students and school employees. Only 20% believe that it's important to get back to school in the fall, while 80% agree that we need to reopen when it's cleared by health experts. Now for the department and the toolkit that the department had. Do you favor or oppose allowing county school districts to devise their own plan as long as minimum requirements from the Department of Education are met? And 75% of our members agree that they favor the department's toolkit. However, when we ask, do educators need to be a part of that decision-making process? I'm sure you're going to be shocked that 100% of our members believe that educators have to be part of the decision-making and the development of the county plans. Our next slide. When asked, who do we think should wear a mask? 82% of our educators said that students and educators both should be required to wear a mask. And the next slide talks about the difficulty that we will have in the mask wearing and the distancing. When we ask the educators thinking about the grade levels you or your students work with and how difficult it will be to ensure that students keep masks on during the day, 92% agreed that it would be difficult. When asked about thinking about the grade level, do you think it will be difficult to implement social distancing and other health practices during the day, 95% of our members said it would be difficult to implement those. The next slide talks about the proposed reopening precautions and whether they are important to them. 99% said that all students and educators need to follow all of the CDC recommendations. 99% agree that hand sanitizers should be available throughout the buildings. 98% said that disinfecting and cleaning handles, surfaces, lab equipment, PE equipment, and bathrooms between the groups of students being in the room. 97% believe we should prohibit visitor access. 94% said limiting of grouping of students and educators that reflect the school's ability to physically distance 6 feet apart, including in classrooms, cafeterias, gyms, and science labs, and on school buses. 90% believe that masks need to be provided and should be required for educators and students. And 90% said that students and educators should receive daily temperature checks before entering schools. The next slide is our members nearly all agree with safety precautions that are needed for the reopening. When we ask what would be needing, 97% said that we need smaller class sizes to enforce social distancing. 97% said standards need to be set and enforced regarding future outbreaks of the illness and required closure of buildings. 94% said we need to suspend standardized testing until we can return to normal school operations. 92% said that taking temperatures of students and staff entering the school buildings and careful tracking of the illnesses will be essential. 86% said staggered school arrivals and/or attendance will be required to enforce social distancing. 84% said measuring and addressing student learning loss during the pandemic will be critical. And 31% say that the current staffing, support, and resources will be sufficient for school cleaning, food services, and bus runs. It shows you that our educators know that we need more funds for this. Now, although we read through the entire survey, a number of things became clear. As our educators are concerned and nervous to return to school due to uncertainty and safety concerns, as we went deeper into this, into the crosstabs of the survey, 66% of those surveyed considered themselves at risk due to health, age, or caregiver concerns. 75% of our educators believe that the department's plan to allow for local flexibility and discard the one-size-fits-all approach to returning to school, yet they are apprehensive about the plan for their own county. It is also clear that educators are concerned about the ability to social distance. That fear increased as the grade level of the students increased, with high school educators more concerned about that than elementary educators. Educators do not believe that the current staffing levels and resources will be enough to adequately ensure school safety due to social distancing, cleaning, bus overcrowding, etc. It is important to note that in many respects, the findings in this survey reflect a snapshot in time. Since the survey was conducted, we have seen continued outbreaks of the coronavirus throughout the state and surrounding states. The issues encountered in the states that have already opened have occurred, and we continue to politicize the returning of school. Those issues and other news stories have not made anyone feel any better or less apprehensive about the return to school, and have only heightened the anxiety of those working in our school systems. We're in a time crunch with the September 8th date looming that the governor proposed, and details of school operations are still vague in many of our counties. So where does that leave us? We have had many of our locals working with their school districts and coming up with some tremendous plans, but in many instances, a short time frame and the continued uncertainty has not allowed employees or parents to be comfortable with those plans. Regardless of whether those plans are implemented on September 8th or somewhere down the road, it was necessary for plans to be in place, and those plans will be vital as we move through the fall. However, given the current opinions of our members and the conditions of the coronavirus in West Virginia, we need a quality education in place for the fall, but we need to err on the side of safety with the initial opening of the schools. Now, based upon that, the WVEA and its members are urging school districts to begin the school year erring on the side of caution and begin the school term with distance learning. Full distance learning will give time for counties to get a handle on the situation and to further iron out the details on how the next steps of the school reentry will be handled in each location. We understood that every county and their individual schools are unique in each circumstance, but safety for the employees and the students should be the foremost everywhere. One outbreak of the virus is one outbreak too many. And starting before we are truly prepared will simply force shutdowns and create additional anxiety and uncertainty. Schools don't exist in a bubble. Should outbreaks occur, they will be brought into buildings and taken back to the student's home. We are all aware of the extremely high at-risk nature of our state's population, and schools could very well become that super spreader situation that we're all trying to avoid. So let's slow down and take a cautious approach to keep everyone safe. Let's begin the school year with full distance learning. I will now open the floor to questions. Please limit it to one question until everyone has been called upon. And please raise your hand in the chat to be called upon. Questions? Give us a second and we'll try to unmute. Looks, Stephen, Anthony Crone is unmuted right now. It looks like.
All right, let's just go to him.
Anthony Crone.
Yeah, there
Anthony
we
Crone,
go.
sorry.
Well, here's my question about this. You're calling for whatever you call it, virtual learning or whatnot, starting off that
Hold on one
at the
second.
beginning of the
Hang
school
on just
year.
1 second, Stephen.
Oh, sure.
Let's try it again.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. You're calling for, and your members are calling for starting off the school year with at-home virtual learning until, I'm not sure what your criteria is for safe, but what would you say to the counties that have, there's several counties that either have no cases, active cases currently. Some counties have 1 or 2 active cases. What would you say to those counties? Do they need to be going to virtual learning? It seems like this is really more of a, a situational thing, county per county. You obviously have counties like Kanawha County and others that have really high case amounts. But again, you've got counties that have very, very minute case amounts. Do you expect them to go ahead and start doing virtual learning too, even though they could theoretically open up and be safe?
As we said earlier, we believe that many counties have tremendous plans and have worked with their educators to develop those plans. But we believe that there are still things that have to be in place, the safety measures that have to be in place. And we're not sure that all the CDC guidelines and the safety requirements can be in place in every situation. However, we are going to support our locals in any decision that they make with the school reopening, and we will be supportive of all of our locals in these decisions.
Anthony?
Let's go to Anthony.
Hi there, Anthony calling from WCHS TV. You say distance learning. Could you clarify what that means, especially given folks trying to do virtual learning with bad broadband in a lot of counties around our state? What do you mean by that?
Distance can be packets. It can be, as you heard the governor say earlier, by September 8th, they believe they're going to have hotspots available for everyone and devices. We believe that we should have devices where you can upload and download classwork on those. So it's a combination of the different types of things that we could reach all of our students and make sure that we reach all of our students with. Thank you. Ryan?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
What percentage of your total membership responded to this survey? And do you have a breakdown of how many respondents say came from Kanawha County versus Mon County versus places like Doddridge?
Well, we had about 4,000 responses back from this, which is a very high percentage, is what the survey company is telling us. And we don't have the breakdown by county, individual county yet. We're working on getting that.
Is that going to be available today?
No.
And do you know whether that breakdown by county will then be representative? Because you're saying this is representative of your members as a whole, correct?
Yes.
Do you know whether the breakdowns by county will be representative of members in
There's
that
no
county?
reason for me to believe differently. Our survey people said this is representative of our membership across the state, and I would believe it's representative of the membership in each county.
And what is your total membership now? A teacher, school worker membership, just your school worker membership. Who's paying?
At this point, we're concentrating on the survey and those results, and that's where we're going with this. We have we have members in every county in the state. We can tell you that.
Next up is
Remember, next, who? WSAZ.
We talked about a timeline. We initially pushed the days back to September 8th. Do you have any sort of timeline or expectation when you think, we just say indefinitely for remote learning, or is there any sort of goal in mind? Or I know a lot of health experts are looking at percentages and totals and that sort of thing. Do you have any sort of recommendation on when to revisit the issue, or when you expect to?
I think it is fluid, and we're going to have to continue to revisit it periodically. I would probably recommend a first grading period to do the distance learning and see how things are going and see how the cases are going. And that's going to be reflective on everything. If these cases continue to rise, and I've heard some of the health experts say that we could expect more as the cold and flu season comes along. It's all that is fluid, and all that's contingent upon the cases and how well this is working. Brad?
Hi, Mr. Lee. Hi, everyone. I noticed the phrasing was directed toward county school systems to urge to go to distance learning to start the fall. Do you anticipate communicating with Governor Justice and Superintendent Birch, and frankly, perhaps most importantly, to Bernie Dolan? Thank you.
I would think that they are going to hear about this rather quickly from you guys in the media. So, but yes, we will reach out to them and make that request formally.
We have a couple back now. Stephen has another question.
Stephen, unless someone new has a question, we'll go back to Stephen.
I guess my question would be this, and it's sort of related to Brad's in a way, but I know that yesterday Clayton Birch had talked about the involvement of WVEA, AFT, school service personnel in the crafting of their guidelines, and I know that your polling shows that there was high support for the State Department's guidelines, and it sounds like they're working with counties on their plans, which are due at the end of the week. It sounds like they've even basically rejected some county plans, sent them back to the drawing board, and told them to come back and create some new plans. At least on the local level, and if you can speak for it at all, but how involved, or what is the involvement of teachers at the local levels in these counties with crafting the county level plans? It sounds like that is one area of concern that you all have.
Many of our counties and many of our county superintendents have been very supportive and have brought the educators in to craft those plans. And that's why we say in there are some counties that have tremendous plans to do that. But other counties have not talked to the educators, have not had them involved in any of the planning. And here we are the day before they're due to the State Department. And there are some counties that still haven't released anything to their educators, haven't told them anything, and are waiting, I guess, until tomorrow to reveal their plans to our educators. And that's just wrong. That's why there's so much skepticism from people from county to county in their plans. So it's a wide mix throughout the state of those who have done what you should do and bring the educators in to develop the plan versus those who have really shut our educators out. and the parents too. Anthony, we'll go back to you.
Thank you. Say the school year comes and school buildings are open to students and faculty and there isn't a full distance learning happening. Is there any kind of an indication from members of WVEA what their reaction would be? Would they still go?
State your question again. I didn't hear you clearly.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Say the school year happens and school buildings are open and there is no full distance learning among counties or maybe some counties. Is there any indication of what the reaction will be from members of WVEA, and would teachers and faculty, do you think they would report to these school buildings if they don't feel safe?
You know, I think, like we said, 66% identify themselves as at risk. So we are telling our people at this point, if they think they need health accommodations, to get physician statements saying what accommodations need to be done. So many of them are seeking those accommodations, but it will really be a county by county issue on what those members in each county decide to do. All of that is going to be reflective on the number of cases, I believe, in from county to county, whether they've had input into the designing of the plan. All of those are going to be key factors in it. But we're going to support our members and each county and what decisions they desire to take.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brad?
Hello again. I may be asking the same question, but in a different way. The key element of your opening statement that I heard was the WVEA and its members are urging school districts to err on the side of caution and begin the school year with distance learning. And so I wonder, what if the answer in some districts is no?
Again, then we will deal with those answers and work with our locals, members in each of those districts to determine what action that they want to take. WSAZ?
We initially, when school went virtual there towards the end of the last school year, we trusted health experts then. If local health experts are saying it's okay in certain districts, are you saying you would support that measure for them to go back if, you know, local health experts are saying that it's safe?
If they check off all the requirements, if we know that all the safety measures are in place, if we know that masks are provided and worn, if we know that there's social distancing and accommodations for those with health issues, if all of those measures are in place, then of course we would support those going back. But those are key factors that have to be in place before anyone can go back. And the social distancing is going to be huge. You can't, when the state board has a meeting yesterday and won't allow 12 to 14 people to come in the state boardroom, you can't put 30 students in the classroom then and expect that to be okay. Going back to Ryan.
Going into this, I'm trying to figure out what specific guidelines do you want schools to follow before they actually reopen. I think Stephen had asked about these counties where you know, they have very few active cases, yet you're calling on everyone to start remote learning because certain guidelines are not being followed at this point.
Well,
what are those?
We want to see about the social distancing, Ryan. We want to see the transportation measures that they have in place, and how you have the distancing there. They may have few cases now, but if we're not following all the CDC guidelines with social distancing, the hand washing, the things that the health experts say you need to have in place to stop the spread, it could very easily, I mean, be another outbreak and start it there. Any more questions?
Has a follow-up.
Okay, Ryan, I think you had a
Yeah.
follow-up.
Yes, one of the things that the state isn't requiring is it's not requiring even the oldest students, high schoolers and middle schoolers, to wear masks. And it's not a requirement. And also on the state level, the state is allowing buses to have up to 2 kids per seat, and is also only suggesting masks on buses, but not requiring them at this point. Are those two things you want to see change? Do you want to see a blanket mask requirement throughout all schools and a blanket mask requirement on buses, and then something that puts fewer kids on these buses?
Yeah, those are going to be county by county decisions, but I think we continue to hear from all the health experts the importance of wearing the mask. We can't say it's important for the adults and everyone else to wear a mask and the social distance, but yet say that our students, that's not that important to you. This has to be a consistent message going out that you have to follow the guidelines to slow and stop the spread of this disease. We thank you all for participating. We thank you for being a part of this. And I apologize for the little glitch in my slides in the beginning, but you know, as this pandemic, we're all doing things and learning on different ways. And this is part of what our educators are dealing with daily and will deal with when school reopen. And I'm sure they will do it much more adeptly than I have. But I have confidence in our educators. I have confidence in the concern that they have for their students, and they will ensure that our students are getting a quality education. Thank you all.